It's AFEX time here in Business Morning, and we're going to see the details of activities on the AFEX exchange for the week ended the 12th of September. And I noticed before now that there's red dominating that summary. But we have Einaya Ukomadu joining us from our Abuja studio. He's an analyst in strategy and corporate finance for AFEX. Hi, Einaya. Good morning. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Great. So let's have the details of trading for the weekend at the 12th of September.
Okay, thank you. Over the course of the week, we saw a decline in the turnover value of about 90.55%, moving from 1.27 billion to close the week at 0.12 billion. Well, the value of contracts traded also saw a decline of about 76.76%, moving from just over 3 million contracts to close the week at 379,000 contracts. While also the number of deals saw a marginal decline of about 0.46%. Moving from just 219 deals to close the week at 218 deals. The ACI, which is the AFEX commodities index, remained unchanged at 459.07 naira, while the AFEX export index experienced a marginal increase of about 0.93% to close the week at 188.72 naira. Moving on to the value of contracts, we saw a rise in the volume of contracts. We saw a rise in the volume of paddy rice, moving from 82,447 contracts to 293,743 contracts. While the volume of cocoa also saw an increase from 1,109 contracts to close at 1,352 contracts. And while the other commodities under review experienced a decline. Moving on to the price changes on the exchange for the week, we saw a rise in the price of maize, representing 5.95%, gaining 11.51 naira to close the week at 205 naira. While paddy rice also saw an increase of about 2.61%, showing an increase of 6.81 naira to close the week at 267.62 naira. All other commodities on the exchange remained unchanged in price.
All right, Inaya, thank you so much.
For more information,
go ahead.
For more information on commodities, you can always check out our page at AFEX Nigeria, and also our social media handle at AFEX Nigeria and COMEX by AFEX.
All right, Inaya, thank you so much for that information. All right, so still staying on AFEX, we've been talking a whole lot about cashew in recent times, started with the federal government promising to boost production, and now the industry is filled with rich potentials, and over the years, we've had remarkable growth in that industry. However, there will need to be ways to move the market internationally. How can the public and the private sector help this to happen, and what are the trends and market forecasts to expect in the African cashew industry, saying that they had this conversation a couple of days ago in Abuja? Well, joining us to elaborate on this is Debajoti Bhattacharya. He is the Vice President Commercials with AFEX. Good morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhattacharya, for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here.
So cashew is catching a lot of attention now, but from your perspective, what's the overview of the Nigerian cashew market, and what would you say are the main challenges that the industry faces at this time?
So the Nigeria cashew market has been growing. The crop has been growing positively over the last, let's say, 7 to 8 years. At a base point of, let's say, 10 years back, where we were producing barely 130, 140,000 tons, we are now producing close to 260,000 tons. So I would definitely commend the federal government and all of the other agencies who have been able to take part in this. But now we still need to go much more forward to probably raise the production of commodities to maybe 500,000 tons of cashew for the much needed foreign exchange that's facing a challenge in the country currently. The second side of the equation is that there's a lot of lack of infrastructure at the farm gate, which means we are seeing investments happening closer to cities, closer to towns, but lack of quality infrastructure, quality storage, quality solutions of pricing at the farm gate level is something that we need to work on. AFEX is definitely working on that. We are producing and currently providing 140 warehouses across 26 states, but we would like to triple that in the next coming couple of years to come even close to where we need to be. The second challenge is definitely the lack of finance, which is available to both the processing industries as well as the local value sector players who would definitely need these loans and need these subsidies at probably a lower cost of working capital, so that they are enabled to add more value addition to the Nigerian cashew space. And finally, coming into it is the lack of information and the lack of data points which the market has regarding the Nigerian cashew production. So while everybody is sort of aware of the areas where cashew is being grown, there are definite points of improvement where we can go through to the international market by creating a national brand for a Nigerian cashew production. And that's what we are trying to create together.
Yeah, so you're also suggesting that the private and the public sector should be working together to boost this productivity. In what ways, really?
Also, absolutely. I mean, without the public sector's intervention and improvement, whatever a private sector enterprise does can only be a small contribution. So we would definitely encourage the government to come up with certain more initiatives to enable the processors to come deeper into the market, come in more integrated into the market. The private sector, like AFEX, can help them with risk management solutions by guaranteeing them a price of the commodity as well as quality of the commodity over longer term periods. So while the cashew is a seasonal industry, which means the crop is being produced for 3 to 4 months in a year, with our infrastructure facilities, with our logistics facilities, we can probably guarantee quality and delivery for a longer time period, probably 8 to 9 months as of this period. And we would definitely like to increase that to probably 12 months in the coming years, where a processor has a guaranteed throughput coming through his factory to make sure that he's processing the right quality at the right price for our international buyers. If the private sector can enable this working capital conversion happening to the processors at a lower cost of interest, making sure that the logistics and the port issues are resolved, I think we can really add value to the Nigerian economy.
So what are the trends and market forecasts for not just Nigeria now, but looking at the continent, the African cashew industry?
So it's a very positive sign. In fact, in the latest conference, we have been hearing news that the growth of African kernels going to the US and Europe has been over 6% in the past years, which means just to meet up the demand, the cashew crop needs to be growing at least 6% every year, not looking at losses in storage and losses during transport. The other side of the equation is that this extra value addition and extra income that comes back to Nigeria also adds us in giving more jobs. It also adds us in providing better value to the farmers who are ultimately planting this cashew. And that further encourages more development and faster growth of the product in this country. We definitely want to be a cashew powerhouse in Nigeria. And I think if we can align together in terms of policies, in terms of facilities, in terms of risk management solutions, I think we are on the right track.
Well, it will certainly do Nigeria a lot of good, especially in these days when we need foreign exchange in the country. We have to thank you so much, Mr. Debajoti Basachaya, Vice President Commercials with AFEX. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.